Athletic, whistle-to-whistle kind of player who is so much fun to watch on running plays. It's not unusual to find him 30 yards up the field chasing plays, which is something that college coaches just love to see. He is a solid pass blocker with great feet, strength, and knowledge of playing the position. This is someone who will definitely be getting some major attention before the year's up. And you know Coach Summerford and the Jags have no shortage of talent, so you are not going to want to miss these guys on Friday night. That's your Gulf Coast Sports Minute. I'm JP.
The teams, the games, the fans, the local talk. This is ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
Gathering at Pensacola Beach is a wonderful family experience. If you thought of having a family celebration or an amazing beach wedding, there's a very special home now available, Casa de Luna. Casa de Luna is spacious with room for large families. It has 9 bedrooms and 8 bathrooms. Casa de Luna is a large private home with a refreshing pool and water views. The pool can be heated for swimming in colder months. Casa de Luna is unique in that the main living area is directly on sand level. It's very convenient. Bedrooms are both on the sand level and upstairs. One bathroom is handicap friendly and another has a new jacuzzi. And there's a large gaming porch with pool table, foosball, hockey, ping pong, and Xbox One. Bicycles are provided. Bring your family to Casa de Luna on Pensacola Beach.
For information, call Casa de Luna owner Tim at 791-6400. That's 791-6400. 791-6400.
Hey everyone, let's all stop what we're doing and take a moment. You see? Every moment can be kind of special. But they can be loud moments, goofy moments, dorky moments, it doesn't matter. Because every time dads like us take a moment like that to spend with our kids, well, it's pretty momentous. So let's take a moment to make a moment. Call 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm Danica Patrick. Watching my nieces grow, play, and learn is amazing, but not every child gets to be carefree. 1 in 6 kids in the U.S. are hungry. This breaks my heart, and it's something that Feeding America is working to change. Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste and gives it to families in need. To help, visit feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
For your ridiculous facts, I'm JP. Hall of Fame pitcher Nolan Ryan has one grossly dedicated fan out there. According to ESPN, at one point, a jockstrap he wore while pitching his 7th no-hitter sold for an unbelievable $25,000. Some things are better left unsaid. And 49ers legend Steve Young is great-great-great-grandson of Brigham Young of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, for whom BYU is named after. That's your ridiculous facts. I'm JP.
This is ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM and 99.1 FM, the only local station that talks sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. From Gullick and Wingo to the Sports Drive with Chad Brilliante. Plus talk football with Coach K at noon, sports call every Saturday. If you'd like to partner with us as an advertiser or a promotional partner, just give us a call at 262-6000.
You're listening to ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. All sports, all the time. WEVY, Milton, Pensacola.
The following has been produced by Talk Football LLC. Former Florida Gators quarterback, NFL quarterback, and NFL head coach. Coach K. Stevenson has a resume second to none, and now he's sharing his insider information with you. Talk Football with Coach K starts right now on ESPN Pensacola.
Welcome into Talk Football with Coach K. JP here with you alongside former NFL head coach K. Stevenson. Appreciate you joining the show here on this Wednesday afternoon. We have so much to get to once again as the week keeps going on. Obviously, there's more and more football news. So, we're seeing some sports move on. Football, well, we'll get into that in just a minute. Look, obviously with everything going on right now, I hope you're doing well, staying safe, washing your hands. You guys know what's going on right now. We are, we're going to get through this thing, all right, but it's going to take everybody. So, once again, not a political statement when I say this, but if you can, throw on a mask. it's not just about you, it's about everybody. With that being said, we want to thank, obviously, our first responders and healthcare workers. I won't just say it this time. I think always. It goes without saying, but we're going to go ahead and say it anyway. These people deserve a lot of thanks. What they do day in and day out is so awesome. I mean, putting themselves out there on the front lines, protecting us from things we don't even know about, hearing stories about it, I don't want to know. I'd rather not know what goes on. But look, with that being said, we thank them so much putting themselves out there for us, especially with COVID-19 going on, makes it even tougher. It may be tough for us, but imagine their job. So just think about that for a second. But we live in such a amazing community here that have fantastic police officers, firefighters, EMT personnel, all the first responders out there, great nurses, doctors. I mean, we live in such a special place. We need to understand that. So, you know what? We just want to send a thanks out to those folks, and we are so gracious to have them protecting us. So while we're on this note, we'll throw it out there. The grocery store employees, truck drivers, all the essential workers, thank you guys so much. Going to get groceries, it's a little bit different, obviously, but those folks out there sanitizing to the best they can, maybe it's the carts or whatever, maybe you got to follow some arrows down a certain aisle. It may be a little bit out of your way, but you know what? Take the extra time to follow these protocols. These people don't want to follow these protocols any more than you do, okay? They want things to be normal, but they have these protocols set to protect everyone. So just have a little more patience and let these people know you care. Let them know, look, a thank you goes a long way now when we can't really have too much contact with anybody. But truck drivers, you're the silent heroes. You guys know you're always important, and we can't forget about you. But, Coach, I know we have a ton to get to today. I had to get that out. But how are you doing today, my friend?
Doing well, JP. And we always send our gratitude out to all those people that you mentioned, and also to our sponsors who keep us on the air and being able to sit here and talk football with all of our audience each day.
Yeah, absolutely. From the Levin Law Firm there, Bob Tyler Toyota, you've got Hill Kelly Dodge, Chrysler Jeep Ram, Pensacola Indoor Shooting Range, all these folks. Listen, go check them out. If you need a car, there you go. You got Hill Kelly and Bob Tyler. They'll take care of you. And let them know that we sent you over there. They'd love to hear it. And Levin Law Firm they've been in this community forever, and they've done such a great job. If you have any questions, any kind of legal advice, reach out to those folks. They are here to help. Understand that. And then, of course, with the Pensacola Indoor Shooting Range, look, if you like guns, that's the place to go. If you want to go out there and shoot a little bit, they've got guns that you can actually test before you go out there and buy it. That's pretty neat. And if you need gun safety, they can help you as well. They can teach you some gun safety. And I think that's important for everybody before you even put a gun in your hand to understand, everything that's involved with it. So those folks can take care of you as well. Look, all our sponsors, we thank them so much. And they're such a valuable part of our community. And we can't thank them enough like everybody else. But look, coming on at 12:15, Coach Pete Shinnick, head coach of our national championship-winning UWF Argos football team, will join us. And, Coach, it's unfortunate. We hate it, but we kind of felt like this, after talking with him last week, this may be where this was heading. And the Gulf South Conference statement came out this morning at 9 a.m., and we'll postpone competition in basketball, football, soccer, and volleyball until at least January 1st. Obviously, with the testing and things like that, it's just so tough for these guys. And the money's not there like some of the big boys. Now, you're looking, even some of the big boys in the Big Ten and the Pac-12 have canceled. We're seeing the MAC Conference, Mountain West, some of these other schools, in Division I football that had to cancel with obviously a lot of concerns going on. But with the Gulf South Conference postponing, I think that's important. Now, I will say this, and we'll get it all from Coach Shinnick. I think it's going to be very tough to play, but they postponed it. They have not canceled it outright. So going to be interesting to hear what he's got to say about that and where they go from here. But, Coach, not a big surprise in this. We kind of, after talking with Coach Shinnick just said once they canceled the Division II championships, it just didn't seem there was a feasible way to do this. So, any surprise on this statement, Coach?
No, I agree with you. I think it's, reading between the lines based on what he had to say the last time we had him on. Kind of felt like this may be the case, and unfortunately it is. I thought they might try to play like a 6-game season, but then again, with think about the team that they had put together at the UWF, won a national championship, had all those kids coming back. The quarterback, who was maybe the best in the country in that division, transferred in 3 or 4 or 5 outstanding football players, 2 or 3 of them from Division One. Just an awful lot to look forward to this year. My goodness, and to have this all fall the way it did is just terribly disappointing. But listen, they'll do whatever they've got to do. I'm anxious to talk to him today, to Coach Shinnick, and they're going to be big boys, and they'll handle this as well as anybody could handle it. So that's for sure. And they'll find a way to maybe enhance the opportunity for some of their kids. So anyway, let's hear what Coach Shinnick has to say. It should be interesting, and we'll also ask him about maybe some of the other leagues.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the thing. You know that UWF, that is a class act program. If there's a way to play come January or whatever it may be, they're going to play, and those players are going to want to do it as well. And you talk about it, Coach, 9 transfers, Division I transfers coming in. This team was going to be special. Last year's team was so special. This year was going to be really fun too. I mean, this team they reloaded. There's no rebuilding here. They were reloading and going after it again. Austin Reed, after what he did as his freshman year, his redshirt freshman year, and interesting. I mean, this team has so much explosiveness on the offensive side, the defensive side, the grit that you saw with those guys coming back, the transfers. You know that if this team can play football, they're going to play football. And regardless, UWF always that they're going to do what's best for everybody in this. And obviously, taking the players' concerns, that's first and foremost. So we'll see what happens. We'll talk to Coach Shinnick coming up here in a little bit. But before that, the Big Ten and Pac-12 officially postponed the college football season. Now, we had a feeling this was coming, but we hadn't had official word once the show was over. A couple hours later, we had word. Now, the Big Ten is a little more surprising because of the uprising that was kind of going around college football with players standing out and stepping up and saying, look, we want to play football. We heard 4 coaches had come out publicly, not just on Twitter, but had made, publicly on TV, on television there, and spoken out that they wanted to play football, that they were ready to play football, that it hadn't changed anything. So, look, it's interesting enough. And, Coach, this is interesting. I don't know. I got word yesterday that even after the Big Ten had made their announcement to cancel football, that Michigan went out to practice. So the Michigan Wolverines were still practicing, and this was after the decision was made. They went out there after. They started practice after. So I don't know. We're hearing, obviously, stuff with like Nebraska and Scott Frost, talking about, look, if they're not going to play, we'll go somewhere where we can play. And some people, we're hearing are like, well, then take yourself out of the Big Ten. We don't need you anyway. And here's my thing on that. I think, Coach, it's funny how these same people are like, well, why are the Big Ten making the decision now? But they still have time. We heard Greg Sankey talk about we have 45 days until we have to play, so we're not going to make that decision yet. Now, just because the SEC and the ACC and now the Big 12 has joined them in saying we're moving forward with our college football season doesn't mean it's going to happen, but it means they're moving forward. It means they're still practicing. That unless things change, now obviously things can change on a dime, they're planning on playing. There's still a little bit of time there. So, Coach, with the Big Ten and Pac-12, no surprise, definitely for the Pac-12 and what they're going to do. I think there's going to be a lot to come out of this because, Coach, the Pac-12, that little unity group they have over there, those players are highly upset they're not playing, which kind of scratched my head a little bit. They were talking about not playing if they didn't get their demands, and now they make the announcement they're not playing because of all this other stuff, and now they're upset. But that's neither here nor there. Like you say, Coach, that's out there on that left coast. I'm not going to touch that. Even though I am an Oregon fan, I have now, Coach, joined the Florida Gators this year. That's the team I'm rooting for. So with the Big Ten and Pac-12, Coach, what do we make of this? I mean, they're talking about possibly playing in the spring. Urban Meyer came out and said, I just don't see that happening. Do you see them being able to play in the spring, Coach?
No, I don't. Not major college football. I really don't. How do you handle the 2021 season if you play in the spring? That's too much in too short a time. And what do you do about all the kids that would opt not to play in the spring, that if they even had a chance, they felt to be drafted, they probably would not play. The better players would not play. Here's the one thing that no one has addressed yet properly, and it may be the biggest factor in all of this decision-making process. Who has contended otherwise that players are going to be safer at home in class and at home than they would be in a quasi-bubble type situation with the medical advice they're going to get and availability, all of the things that would help them to avoid the virus as part of an athletic team, part of a football team, and now you're going to send them home, put them in classrooms, and also send them home if they don't want to go to class. Most of the players have said they're safer, with their football teams than they would be at home or sitting in a classroom with many other college students on campus. So, I don't know. Nobody's answered that question. And that seems to me to be the best reason to follow up if you're really out for in the best interest of the players, the student athletes, and for their safety and well-being. Then the best thing you can do is to follow up with what you have in place, the protocols you have in place, and keep them safe.
Yeah, you're right, Coach. That's one thing that we're hearing these people and Greg Sankey. We'll talk about what he said after we talk to Coach Shinnick as well. But a little bit of what he said is he's interested to find out what changed with these guys, because we're hearing that some players they found a couple players that had myocarditis, and obviously it's the heart muscle right there and inflammation and things like that. But here's the thing, Coach. I've known about myocarditis since April, that was a possibility of all this. Where, look, players have things that are wrong with them, obviously, that they can't play football. And it stinks, but it's a rare condition right there. So if that's the case, I mean, I don't know. I think, to me, the Big Ten talking about, well, that's something we found out. If you just now found that out, that scares the heck out of me, because everybody else has known about this.
Here's the other thing. If there is the possibility of some heart problems later on if you get the virus, the bottom line is don't get the virus. And how do you best protect these kids from getting the virus right now? Put them in class, send them home, or keep them within the confines of the athletic department, the football team, and all the protocols involved to keep them from getting sick.
You're right.
One, it doesn't matter. Both are. It's all the same message. They're going about it the wrong way. People who say, well, there may be some heart damage later on. Well, what difference does that make? You got to get the virus to have the heart damage. So the problem is keeping them safer and give them a better chance to stay well and not get the virus.
You're absolutely right, Coach. And you know what? That's where a lot of this is. For the Big Ten and Pac-12, especially the Big Ten. The Pac-12, we knew what was going to happen with that, but there's a lot of disgruntled folks there in the Big Ten that doesn't seem they're going to be playing football this year, and we'll talk about this as well. I'm interested to see if any of these guys want to transfer to any of these schools, these three conferences they're planning on playing, because that if they wanted to transfer over, the NCAA would let them. I mean, with the situation that's going on right now, I can't see a big problem. I can see it being, tragic for some of these, obviously, Pac-12 and Big Ten schools. But we'll get into that a little bit later. Look, we got to go to break. When we come back, Coach Pete Shinnick of our UWF National Championship Argos football team right here will join us on the show to talk about the decision that was made in the GSC this morning. So we'll talk about all that and more when we come back right here on Talk Football with Coach K on ESPN Pensacola.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
Hello, sports fans. Miles Bentley here, General Manager at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Pensacola. Growing up, I always loved sports. Nothing but net, out of the park, through the uprights. Sink the puck Bentley, that was me. But my love of the game couldn't beat my love for Pensacola and helping folks get on the road of dreams in a new Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Sure, I never went to the big leagues in sport, but we're all pro here at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Proud to be in Pensacola.
There's only one place in town for the lowest prices and greatest selection of firearms. Pensacola Indoor Shooting Range. Visit our fully stocked Gun Pro shop for new and used firearms, accessories, and ammunition. Check out the Indoor Shooting Range. We offer rentals on guns, including fully automatic machine guns and silencers. Ladies, this is the safe place to learn how to use a gun. Plus, Tuesday is Ladies' Day. Women shoot for half price all day. The best place to buy firearms in Pensacola. Pensacola Indoor Shooting Range. Highway 29 in Car City.
Locally owned Jackson Pace Pharmacy has exciting news for ED patients. Tadalafil, the FDA-approved generic for Cialis, is now here, and the cost savings are huge. Save 80% on the 20-milligram tablets, 30 tablets for $80, less than $3 a pill. A prescription from your doctor is required, so stop by Jackson Pace Pharmacy, 2256 West 9 Mile Road in Pensacola, and cash in on the savings today.
You can watch Coach K talk football live right now on our YouTube channel at ESPN Pensacola 1330.
Back to Talk Football with Coach K. JP here with you, alongside former NFL head coach K. Stevenson on this Wednesday afternoon. Appreciate you guys joining the show again. It's a little sunshine outside, and we could use some sunshine with some of the news that we've gotten today. But look, a special guest joining us, Coach Pete Shinnick, right here, head coach of our national championship winning UWF Argos football team. I think what he's been able to do in a short period of time has been absolutely fantastic. And if you know Coach Shinnick, you're probably not surprised at all. And, talking with Coach, he knows how much I respect him and what he's been able to do just for this community overall, much less, one of the former school that I went to right there. And I remember going to UWF when they had the undefeated football shirts, when they were talking about having a team. I still have my undefeated shirt there, and it's so cool to have that and think about that, and now they're national champions. But Coach K, I know we have a lot to get with Coach Shinnick, so I'll go ahead and send it over to you.
Okay. We as always, we appreciate Coach Shinnick coming on with us. Coach, we've got a little bad news to talk about this morning, so let's go ahead and address it. Sure hated to hear about the Gulf South Conference calling it off, at least postponing until after the first of the year. But anyway, your thoughts, and give us the big picture here.
Well, Coach, as we talked last week, and it just felt like, unfortunately, this was the direction that we were headed. And then when you see what transpired here in the last 5 days with the MAC conference, and then the Big Ten, and then the Pac-12. You saw where all the FCSs, there is no more championship for them. Just felt like, this was kind of the next step. And Division II came out, said we're not going to sponsor championships. And, we just felt like, all right, then the Gulf South Conference would probably put itself right in that situation where it's like, okay, if we're not playing for a championship, what does the fall look like? And so, I'm, even though, knew it was coming, when you hear it, it's still disappointing. It's still difficult to, process. And, it's just hard to share with your players. We got a lot of seniors that We're looking forward to watching them play this year and seeing how they were going to perform and be able to handle the opportunity of coming off a national championship and going out and knowing that every team that we played was going to be looking to knock us off. We were looking forward to all of that. And to now be able to, have to tell your team that, hey, we're definitely not playing. We're not quite sure what the spring looks like. Those are just hard times. And, I think the other component to that probably hasn't settled in, everybody thinks of the players and the coaches, which I truly appreciate. But, when you start looking at the people who work at Wahoo Stadium, when you start looking at the fans, when you start looking at, how many people this truly impacts, the list goes on and on and on. And so there's a ripple effect with all of this. And, obviously disappointed that we're not able to get back and do what we want to do, but also feel for all the families and the lives that have been affected by this as well.
Well, I'm sure of that. It's amazing. Excuse me. It's amazing that this year, of all years, for this to happen with the football team that you've assembled out there, a national championship hanging on your belt, the transfers in, the momentum that you had going, and for this to happen, it affects, you're right, it affects a lot of people in the area. Looking forward to the season for a number of reasons, and it certainly is a crushing blow. Now, the big question, number one, do you think the spring is feasible? It may be in your division, but what do you think about the spring? And then number two, what do you do with those players that you have there now until a decision is made on play again? And how are you set up to handle all that, Coach?
Sure. Well, first off, with the spring, what our presidents proposed was a competition schedule of up to 5 games. The purpose behind that statement is the NCAA came out with a waiver for eligibility that if you played 5 games or less, you would not use a season of eligibility. So as we examine the spring, Coach, it may be as simple as we play someone, but it also could be where we scrimmage people or we do a combination practice, kind of like the NFL has gone to, where you're getting together with another team. So I think there are all options on the table for what the spring could look like. I do not see us playing a full, complete schedule in the spring, but I do see us having some sort of outside competition, which football, as you know, doesn't have. I mean, our soccer programs, our volleyball programs, they can have that type of competition in the spring. Baseball and softball can play fall ball. Football, obviously, everything you do is against yourself until you go and play your first game. So I think we will see some sort of outside competition. Don't know what that'll look like yet, and that's kind of what we're working on. But then the next component to that is, Coach, once you get over the disappointment, once you get over the frustration, now, I'm always looking ahead. And so, my challenge to our team this fall is we got to get better. We got practice opportunities. We got weight room opportunities. We need to be able to take advantage of that and find a way to improve. As you said in the opening deal, we felt like we had a great team built. We want to keep as much of that team around as we possibly can, and then we want to be able to become better and improve and find ways to make the most of this fall, and find a way to continue to put the type of product on the field that our fans are used to seeing.
That's great. I knew that would be your approach, no doubt about it, and certainly is welcomed by all associated with your program out there. What happens to your seniors with this now? Do Does it toll for them in any way? How do they recapture anything if they can't recapture?
Yeah, the NCAA put together a waiver for seniors so that they could, be eligible for the 2021 season. There are some things that you have to work through, and there are some hurdles that you've got to step over and hoops to jump through, so to speak. And we're kind of working with each guy individually as to what that looks like. So it's not as simple as, hey, bring them back. Each guy's situation's different. Some guys will graduate this fall. Some guys will graduate in the spring. So we're trying to work with each guy individually. The good news is the NCAA, as I said, did, give us the opportunity to apply a waiver so that if they were playing their last season of eligibility, we'd still be able to keep them around. But it's not the same for every guy, and every guy's situation is a little different.
I understand. Well, it's a shame for those who have lost, obviously those that have lost any last opportunity to play football, and you just hate it for them. Let me jump quickly and take you into another round. We still have, as far as football is concerned, college football, still have the SEC, ACC, the Big 12, I guess Sun Belt, and there may be a couple of other conferences that have are still on the path toward playing. Where do you see this going at this point with those conferences?
Well, Coach, I felt like, that outpour of the Big Ten coaches and some Pac-12 coaches, I really thought that would kind of delay their decision there because I thought all of them made great comments about player safety and about the opportunity, for them to really be under their guidance and what they're doing to keep them safe. The people that, I've heard from and, listened to through this process, the SEC and the ACC and the Big 12, they're going to do everything they can to play. And I think when you look at, the NBA, which is the ultimate place, everybody's in a bubble, no one should ever get it, okay, that's a way to do it. But then when you look what the SEC and the ACC and the Big 12 are doing with the amount of tests that they're having, with how clean, their places are and the monitoring of their guys that they're doing, I think they've put together a pretty good path to pull this off. I think for us and, the conferences and the divisions that have said they're not going to play, just didn't feel like, we could follow that path as to what had been mandated. But, I'm optimistic they can pull it off. I really am. I do think there's a path to get it done, and I think, those conferences are following it right now and doing everything they can to make it a safer environment than probably what their student athletes would face anyplace else.
I couldn't agree with you more. In fact, we were just talking about that before you came on, and I could not agree with you anymore. In fact, that's the big question that no one seems to want to address, and that is if players know, coaches know, and certain medical people know that they're safer in this environment than certainly going home at this point. And there has to be, I think, Coach, take it a step further, there has to be some type quasi-bubble type arrangement, meaning when you put 20 or 30,000 students back on campus, you can't allow football players half the day to be roaming around with those students, class, or whatever. You got to do something. You got to keep them confined away from that. And I think you got to go back to some type, just like New Orleans and Dallas are doing in the National Football League, some type arrangement akin to the old athletic norms where they can keep them away from students as much as possible. But if they do that, and given all the protocols that they're involved with, if they're part of a football team, I think they're 100% safer than they would be in almost any other situation you could put them in.
Yeah, I agree, and I don't think any of it's going to be perfect, okay? And we've obviously seen, and hopefully they've learned, you've obviously seen the pitfalls of it with Major League Baseball, okay? So, I look at Major League Baseball and they say, okay, well, that's a failure because these games have been canceled. I look at it and say, okay, let's not focus on the two teams that, haven't done it well. Let's focus on all the other ones that have done it well. What have they done well? They found a way to, keep their masks on. They found a way to keep their players safe. Their players have taken some responsibility upon themselves to stay out of places where it could be spread and stay away from situations that could be harmful. Well, that's really what the SEC, the ACC, and the Big 12 and the other conferences that are going to play. They've talked to their players and said, look, this is going to take a tremendous responsibility to keep this as a safer environment. But I promise you, it's going to be a whole lot safer than a lot of other places they could be. And again, I don't look at the major league as, this hasn't worked. I look at it, hey, a couple teams haven't done what they were supposed to. So, we got to be proactive in how we're presenting this to, the players. And I believe those coaches are doing a great job right now, what they're saying and what that means and, how they can do it. Obviously, it's going to take a tremendous amount of self-discipline, but I think in the end that self-discipline is going to play itself out because those are the programs and the teams that are going to have the opportunity to play this fall.
Yes, I agree. And one other thought there, Major League Baseball is not really a good comparison because, there's the comparison that you're talking about, which is all positive, but when you're going to put, they're going to be back and forth across the country into different cities 2 and 3 times a week in airplanes, different hotels, and eating and whatever their accommodations are for eating. That's not like a college football team, and certainly not like an NFL team. They're not nearly as much travel. They're probably going to be on chartered flights. They're cleaned well and made for very cleanliness, a lot of cleanliness as far as the hotels they stay in and so on. Anyway, listen, I've taken too much of your time. I do appreciate very much you coming on, Coach. And we wish you the best. And I want to stay in touch with what you're doing out there because I think it's very interesting as to what is going to happen between now and the time you play again. I know it'll be good, but I know you'll be out in front of the curve, so it'll be interesting to keep up with.
Well, I appreciate that, Coach. JP, I appreciate you guys having me on, and, we're going to find a way to get better. We're going to find a way to improve. So that's our challenge for this fall, and we appreciate all the support, and we appreciate our fans and the city of Pensacola for all they do for us. So thank you.
And that's head coach Pete Shinnick right there of our UWF Argos. I tell you what, if Coach Shinnick wrote a book on motivation, I would read it every day. That's it's always refreshing, even in a negative time like we are right now. He always finds the positives, and this is tough for everybody. And you know what? It's okay for to feel heartbroken. And I can't imagine because Coach, you know how Coach Shinnick feels about his players. You know that he's had that family atmosphere, and that's why guys will do anything. They'll run through a brick wall for him. And we all have probably, majority of us had a coach like that. I know I had a coach like that growing up that would do anything for us as players. And it wasn't just about on the field. It's about off the field as well. And that's where you see, the national championship teams. That's where you see these guys gel. When times get tough, it's not just because, they're good players. There's a lot more that gets into that. And, Coach, you understand that from a player and a coach perspective as you did it at the highest level. And that's just what's so special about Coach Shinnick and what he's been able to do. And you know what? When he says we're going to get through this and we're going to be better, and he talks about, if we don't play in the spring, we move on to next year, we take the opportunities that we're given. That's just that's why he's been so successful, and that's why guys will do anything for him.
You bet. There's no bigger fan of Pete Shinnick than me. I'm especially fond of him and respect what he does, not only on the field but off the field, his whole program. And I've had the opportunity to sit down and talk football, X's and O's with him. And a very, very knowledgeable football guy, and certainly a tremendous leader. So nobody has more respect for him than I do.
Absolutely, Coach. And you know what? The head coach of our national championship winning UWF Argos football team right there, Pete Shinnick. We appreciate him as always coming on and joining us. And once again, it's always great to hear his voice. He always brings a positive attitude to even some of the worst situations. And right now, if you didn't know, the Gulf South Conference obviously is not going to play at all this year. They are going to see what happens January 1st and move from there. And you heard Coach Shinnick doesn't believe they'll play a full schedule, but maybe a limited one. We'll see. If not, doesn't matter to Coach. He's moving forward regardless. So his primary care is obviously those players. And, winning is great, but he understands who comes first when it's all said and done. But, look, we got to go to a break. When we come back, we'll talk about the Big 12 moving forward. We'll talk about them dropping their conference schedule now. And we'll talk about as well the comments that Greg Sankey made after the Big 10 and the Pac-12 made their decision. And should the NCAA grant transfer waivers for these schools that have obviously either canceled or postponed their season? We'll talk about all that and more when we come back right here on Talk Football with Coach K on ESPN Pensacola.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
Hello, sports fans. Miles Bentley here, General Manager at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Pensacola. Growing up, I always loved sports. Nothing but net, out of the park, through the uprights. Sink the puck, Bentley. That was me. But my love of the game couldn't beat my love for Pensacola and helping folks get on the road of dreams in a new Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Sure, I never went to the big leagues in sport, but we're all pro here at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Proud to be in Pensacola.
Sometimes your bank, your family, and your friends love you, but they don't have the money to help you. Sometimes we have chances to make money, but the old saying, you've got to have money to make money, rings true. At Pensacola Specialty Pond, we can help. If you have trucks, heavy equipment, airplanes, boats, jet skis, anything with value, Pensacola Specialty Pond can loan you that short-term money you need. No credit checks, and at Pensacola Specialty Pond, you're going to find the money and the discretion you need.
Now at 6428 Pensacola Boulevard, north of Car City. Call 432-9050, 432-9050.
Hey, what's up? Chad here from the Sports Drive. Well, we're into August, that first time that we start to feel the flow for football season.
Foosball.
Like getting ready to run out of the tunnel to a song like Enter Sandman. Might be a little different this year. Probably no smoke, social distance away from the people, as you might get cheered on by virtual fans.
You can do it!
But overall, we're excited, and we'll keep you posted with the latest updates from high school, college, and the NFL. Join myself, Chad Brillante, and JP right here on the Sports Drive, 5 to 7 on ESPN Pensacola.
Whether you're building a new home or considering a renovation, choosing the right construction partner makes all the difference. At Lacoste Construction Group, they pride themselves on client experience and true craftsmanship, specializing in both new construction and renovations for both commercial and residential projects. Lacoste Construction Group will deliver you a quality turnkey project and is with you every step from consulting and budgeting to design and engineering. Get started turning your home or business into the space of your dreams today at LacosteConstructionGroup.com.
This is Davis Allen from Sports Call with Davis and Justin, and you're listening to Talk Football with Coach K on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
Welcome back to Talk Football with Coach K. JP here with you alongside former NFL head coach Kay Stevenson on this Wednesday afternoon. Appreciate you guys joining us. Appreciate, as always, Coach Pete Shinnick, head coach of our national championship winning Argos football team right there joining us as well. Look, not the news we wanted, obviously, in our area. We love our Argos. We love Coach Shinnick and those guys, but it is what it is. We're going to move forward from this. And talking about, look, college football moving forward, right now, the American Conference, Conference USA, the Sun Belt for the group of five there are still planning on playing their season as of right now, and they've all made statements here recently, just to let people know. And the Big 12, ACC, and SEC are deciding that it seems like they're moving forward here to play. Coach, talking about the Big 12, now we heard the ACC and the SEC, they made their statement pretty quickly that, look, this doesn't change what we're doing here. We want to let everybody know we're still planning on playing football. We were wondering, the Big 12, as we had heard, that they were kind of on the fence, but they were obviously thinking about playing. They made their statement this morning, and it came out that the statement was, our student-athletes want to compete. It's the board's collective opinion that sports can be conducted safely and in concert with the best interests of their well-being. Now, that was obviously the Big 12 Board of Directors chairman right there, and TCU Chancellor Victor Boschini. He said, we remain vigilant in monitoring the trends and effects of COVID-19 as we learn more about the virus. If at any point our scientists and doctors conclude that our institutions cannot provide a safe and appropriate environment for our participants, we will change course. With that being said, Coach, the Big 12 released a revised football schedule this morning. Obviously, if you haven't seen it, check it out. Teams will still play their 9+1 schedule with 9 conference games and 1 non-conference game, but the start of the conference season will be delayed until September 26th. Now, that's what the SEC has done as well. The schedule includes 2 off weeks for every team to allow the flexibility in the instance that games must be postponed. And the Big 12 championship game also has a flexible date scheduled for December 12th or 19th. Coach, once again, we're seeing kind of the similar thing here, except the ACC, by the way. I believe FSU starts their season September 12th. Do you believe that that's going to stay, by the way, now that we've seen the SEC and the Big 12 starting their season September 26th? Do you think the ACC may tweak their schedule a little bit and start at the same time, or are they going to keep it, September 12th?
Well, it's a good question, and I obviously don't know the answer to that. They very well could, and if they did, there certainly would not be any opposition to it. It would be well understood why they did want that delay in there of another week. So I think it's wide open if they want to do that. They can certainly do it with no pushback. Again, I think the SEC came up with a model schedule which had the flexibility built in, and the start date a little later to give them more time. I think it's the interesting thing to me is that the announcement from the Big 12 this morning is listed as official, the official announcement from the Big 12. If that is the official announcement, that's saying to me that we've made the decision we're going to play. And this is not a tentative, get with you in the next few days type decision. This is a decision we're going to play, and we've moved the schedule to accommodate what we feel is a better, more attractive from the standpoint of safeguarding the participants. So I take it as a very good sign. I have felt all along that the SEC would play. Most of the ACC, I think they would have a tough time not playing. And now with the Big 12 making that official announcement, I would think is a very good sign for football.
Yeah, I agree with you right there, Coach. And, everybody was talking about, you kind of need a majority. Now, you can play if it was just the ACC and SEC, but the majority will definitely help you move forward on this. And now you've got the majority here. When you talk about the Power 5, you've got, the Power 3 this year. That's what we'll call it. SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey came out. Obviously, this was right after the Big Ten and the Pac-12 made their decisions and said, I look forward to learning more about the factors that led to the Big Ten and Pac-12 leadership to take these actions today. I remain comfortable with the thorough and deliberate approach that the SEC and our 14 members are taking and to support a healthy environment for our student athletes. We will continue to further refine our policies and protocols for a safe return to sports as we monitor developments around COVID-19 in a continued effort to support, educate, and care for our student athletes every day. Now, obviously, some of the medical experts here in the ACC and the SEC have come out and said, yes, we can play safely. I'll make that clear. Is it hard? Yes. Is it going to be tough? Yes. But it can be done, and it's feasible enough. So when you look at this, Coach, look, my thing, and I said this yesterday on the Sports Drive, where you have these medical experts, and I know the answer to this deep down, but I want to see how you feel about this. The medical experts here say the Big 12, they've said, yes, we can play safe. The SEC and the ACC, we can play safely. Where is the disconnect? Because my thing is, Coach, we're learning, obviously these people, I would assume, would be in contact with each other. Obviously, we're learning more about the virus every day. Where is the disconnect between the Big Ten and Pac-12 to these other medical experts where the Big Ten and the Pac-12 said we can't do it, but these guys are saying we can?
Yeah, it's a great question. I really don't know. I've got some ideas. I think, one thought we'd have to immediately go to is their fear of a litigious situation, a legal situation, if someone did get sick and had lasting complications from it and got sick on their watch. Now, and that still doesn't answer the question about being safer in a controlled environmental situation having to do with football and the protocols involved and the discipline involved to avoid illness, and putting them in classes with thousands of people or sending them home. These kids are not going to go home and quarantine themselves. Now, you can just bet on that. You can put the mortgage on that one. But if they're in a situation where they're being monitored not only by a coaching staff, but by their peers, because you can believe there are a lot of people on a football team, a number of those kids, that feel it's important for them to get this year of football in for a number of reasons, one being their future in professional football and so on. So they're not going to be or look favorably on somebody breaking protocol. A much safer situation. I can't emphasize that enough. I really think that maybe the reason to answer your question have more to do with possible legal ramifications, and quite frankly, a group of timid people. Stephen A. Smith, in case people didn't hear it, went on a rampage tangent this morning. I made this totally political. We're not going to do that. But it does go to point out one thing to me, that we've got the left coast and a good percentage of the Big Ten. There are an awful lot of people involved in those institutions and politically, from state jobs on through university jobs, that would just as soon see the misery index rise sincerely up as much as they can because of the political situation. And having no football is just another piece of misery that could be layered in. No school, keep the virus going good, the economy fall to shambles, and no football. Anyway, all those types of things that they may be interested in having happen. So, anyway, having said that, we'll ease on to another subject.
Yeah, Coach, and we're going to go to break, and when we come back, I do want to talk about, obviously, with, these conferences canceling, not just, obviously, the Big Ten and the Pac-12, but some of the other group of fives as well. Should the NCAA grant waivers, transfer waivers for these guys immediately? Look, I know that we're getting close and games are starting, and in like 45 days or 44 days, whatever it is. But should they allow these guys to transfer out if they want to, especially some of these seniors? Well, remember, there's no guarantee we play in the spring either. So with that being said, we'll talk about that, as well as, look, with some of these conferences and these guys, opting out or the conferences canceling, how does it affect recruiting for NFL teams? There's a lot going on here for the NFL scouts, as well as the NFL's closely monitoring college football developments. We may see, look, NFL football on Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Thursday. Who the heck knows? That's 2020 in a nutshell for you. We'll talk about all that and more, though, when we come back right here on Talk Football with Coach K on ESPN Pensacola.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
There's only one place in town for the lowest prices and greatest selection of firearms. Pensacola Indoor Shooting Range. Visit our fully stocked gun pro shop for new and used firearms, accessories, and ammunition. Check out the Indoor Shooting Range. We offer rentals on guns, including fully automatic machine guns and silencers. Ladies, this is the safe place to learn how to use a gun. Plus, Tuesday is Ladies' Day. Women shoot for half price all day. The best place to buy firearms in Pensacola. Pensacola Indoor Shooting Range, Highway 29 in Car City.
This Thursday at 5:30, tune into the Sports Drive with me, Chad Brillante, when we tee it up with PGA and head pro at Osceola Golf Course, Adrian Stills, for his inside scoop on local golf events and some entertaining stories around the links. Adrian has represented Pensacola at the highest levels of the PGA Tour and is proud to call Pensacola his home. And now he's giving you the inside scoop Thursday at 5:30, right here on the Sports Drive on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
From quarterbacking the Pensacola High Tigers to being head coach of the Buffalo Bills, Coach K. Stevenson knows the game, and he brings his expertise to talk football with Coach K. Weekday afternoons from noon to 1 on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. The teams, the games, the fans, the local talk. This is ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
Back to Talk Football with Coach K. JP here with you, alongside former NFL head coach K. Stevenson. This Wednesday afternoon. Appreciate you joining the show here. Final segment coming up. Coach, I'm going to jump into this. Now, obviously with these conferences postponing, we'll say postponing right now, not canceling, but they're canceling the fall season right now. Should the NCAA grant transfer waivers to these guys? I mean, not only should they do that, do you see some guys obviously taking advantage of this, and maybe even some of these seniors that, if they play in the spring, they weren't going to play at all?
Well, I think that's a complicated situation. Presents a terribly complicated environment here. Think about it now. Let's just do for instance. If you bring somebody in, if a school brings someone in on a transfer, and here they're getting ready to play. Let's say that Justin Fields wants to transfer from Ohio State to Alabama, and you're getting ready to play in a couple of weeks, 3 or 4 weeks, and you've got the quarterback room there in Alabama that you're aware of, 3 outstanding quarterbacks. And all of a sudden now, Saban is going to put Justin Fields in that room as the starting quarterback. Won't work. Will not work. He doesn't want to go to Ole Miss, maybe, or some other place. He wants to go to Alabama. But it goes on and on and on. And listen, that would be pretty much the case with most all these schools. How are you going to, at the last minute, bring somebody in, give them a starting job would emphasize to everybody on your football team you don't need to get ready to play football during the off season. All you got to do is be ready to go a couple of weeks before the season starts. No, it doesn't work that way. So on both sides, there are problems with that. I would think the best way would be to mediate in a different route, if you will, of granting an extra year of eligibility for those that feel they need to play again. There may be some, obviously there's some seniors who don't feel they need to play anymore, and there are going to be a number of them that opt out if they try to play in the spring. So you really got a complicated situation when you get down to that piece of it.
Yeah, I'm getting word right now that Vanderbilt said they will take Justin Fields, and Florida State said, yeah, we could use a solid quarterback right there. Yeah, there you go. No, I completely understand what you're saying, Coach. It's so tough because this decision was made now, and that's I feel for these guys that are playing. Look, I feel for these guys that are on these teams that can play. Like I said, Carl Durrell, at Colorado had talked about, hey, look, he was on XM radio this morning and said, we haven't had any positive tests since we got rolling of our first week right here. And, our guys have been busting it. They've been following protocols. They understood what they had ahead of them, and they've done such a great job. The staff have done a great job, everybody. And you feel for those teams that, can absolutely play right now but are being handcuffed, and it stinks. There's no perfect answer to this. But, Coach, I do want to mention, look, from an NFL perspective here, for these conferences and obviously players, you're not going to see some of these guys. Now, Todd McShay releasing his early first round, his 2 early first round picks here. There's, I believe, 5 guys in the top 10 that are in either the Big 10 or the Pac-12, and we're not going to be able to see them. We probably won't be able to see them at all until draft time. I know that these guys can work out and things like that, but Coach, would that make you skeptical on taking a guy maybe that early? Now, we're talking about that early. I mean, when you take a guy like that, you better be sure that early in the first round that he's going to help you. Would that scare you a little bit, not being able to see these guys in competition this year going from that big of a break?
Well, it would, but you would have to look at everything that would be available to you, which would be to go back and reevaluate existing tape that they have, talk with their coaches again, have face-to-face meetings with the scouts that have seen them play, and get all the information you can, get some background information on them you may not have now. So just all of that combined still would not give you the comfort level that you would have if you had a chance to see them play this year. So to answer your question, yeah, it wouldn't be the ideal situation, but I don't know that you'd get too far off. You wouldn't just eliminate a guy that's got high on your draft board right now. He probably wouldn't fall too far, if at all.
Well said right there, Coach. That's why I obviously deflect to you on this. And look, that sound, Coach, means it's time for us to go as usual. We didn't get to everything, but you know what? We'll give it our best shot tomorrow. But, Coach, as always, it's been an absolute pleasure.
You bet. Look forward to it, JP.
Absolutely, Coach. Have a good one. And to our listeners out there, appreciate you guys tuning in. Appreciate Coach Pete Shinnick of our national championship winning UWF Argos right there joining us. Look, guys, we as everything updates, we will update you as well. And we'll be back same time talking some football with you right here on Talk Football with Coach K on ESPN Pensacola.
You're listening to ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. All sports, all the time. WEBY, Milton, Pensacola.
Sports Center.
I'm Christine Lisi. At this hour, the Big 12 joining the SEC and ACC in attempting to play football this fall amid the coronavirus pandemic. One day after the Big 10 and Pac-12 postponed fall sports, the Big 12 announced it does plan to proceed with fall sports. It released a revised football schedule. Teams will still play 9 conference games, 1 non-conference game. The start of conference play begins September 26th. The Big 12 championship game tentatively set for December 12th. At this point, though, it's hard to imagine a complete college football season this fall for ESPN's Paul Feinbaum.
I know you're supposed to give the optimistic view here when you're in my seat,
Yesterday was a seismic shift in the sport, and it may last a little bit longer, but it's hard for me to believe that we're going to make it very far.
Paul Feinbaum on ESPN Radio Morning. Golf. Augusta National announcing there will be no spectators when the Masters is played in November. Kentucky Derby eliminated general admission tickets for this year. Churchill Downs officials expect less than 23,000 fans will be able to attend the event next month.
Keyshawn, J. Will, and Zubin. Mornings, coming August 17th to the all-new ESPN Radio.
I'm still never going to get it like Stephen A. I need to just accept that. I don't know why I tried. I'm sorry. It's First Take, Your Take here on ESPN Radio, ESPN News, Sirius XM Channel 80. We're presented by Progressive Insurance, and all guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Mike Golick Jr. with you here. We've been giving you a preview all week of Chiney and Golick Jr., the show that's going to be a part of ESPN Radio's new lineup rolling out starting next week, Monday, August 17th. Chiney and I will be holding it down from 4 to 7 p.m. Eastern every Monday through Friday. Chiney, who you heard all in the first hour, had to go. She's got a lot of responsibilities around here. The Jump is calling her name, and when Rachel Nichols calls around here, you answer because Rachel's a boss, and we appreciate that. Great friend of the show. And so we'll be holding it down here for the next hour. Gabe Eichert, former Oklahoma offensive lineman, going to join us here in about 10 minutes on the state of the Big 12, which is getting very interesting as we look at and dive into the world of college football that we've been reacting to for the last couple of days. It's been a madhouse for almost 3 straight days. You could argue since Sunday it has felt like one long hellish day for the world of college athletics. And we got some bad news yesterday. The Big Ten and the Pac-12 both announced that they were postponing their fall seasons with eyes on hopefully holding a spring season for its fall athletes. And it was not a decision they came to easily. It is not a decision anyone came to lightly. But it was a decision they made and felt comfortable with at that time because of what their medical personnel told them. And as we get ready to think about what's going on and what happens next, that's important context that we're all starting to realize through this is this decision is being made by medical personnel. The problem is it's everybody's different medical personnel. And it's everyone's presidents taking that information from them. The ones ultimately making that decision are those presidents in consultation with the lawyers and the medical personnel that each conference has its own and is clearly not sharing its information. I was blown away yesterday hearing Bob Bowlesby, the Big 12 commissioner, talking about and reacting to the Big 10 and the Pac-12 making their decision, saying, I look forward to finding out the information they were privy to that prompted them to make this decision, reminding us all yet again, no one has been communicating about this in a meaningful way at those top levels, and that's the failed leadership that we've talked about. It's so easy to slander the NCAA, and they deserve it. It is an absolute mockery of an organization leadership-wise. Mark Emmert and company continuing to just punt the ball back into everybody else's hands on all of this. But the Power Five has not acquitted itself much better in this process. And so now we hear from Bob Bowlesby today, the Big 12 commissioner. And again, we'll talk more about this with Gabe in a few, but I just want to remind everybody as we look here now and say, all right, ACC, SEC, Big 12, it's full speed ahead going forward right now. They are planning on doing this. Remember to write that in pencil. And this quote from Bob Bowlesby's presser today I think really drives that home. He said on his thoughts on proceeding with the season, quote, our medical professionals have told us move forward, go slowly, and make adjustments as needed. If we get to a point where our doctors say you have 2 wheels off the track and you're headed for a wreck, we have to pivot that day. Keep in mind, there is going to be one major factor that plays more of a role in that than anything else in the next 2 weeks. And we'll get to that with Gabe because he was the one that brought that up with me earlier today and kind of opened my eyes on that front. But as far as leadership, we're seeing a very different world right now unfold where Kevin Warren steps into the Big Ten leadership and thinks, all right, I am going to be the commissioner of this great conference in the Big Ten and everything's going to go great. And then obviously hell hit for everybody like it did this year. But man, it seemed to hit hard with Kevin Warren and the rest of the Big Ten leadership. And Bobby Carpenter, our very own ESPN college football analyst, NFL analyst, former Ohio State linebacker, had some strong words on, again, who's making this decision, the presidents at the Power 5 level, and why Bobby believes they're not equipped.
Based upon what I heard, I don't think he was making strong recommendations to play.
And so the presidents ultimately make the decision. But the presidents are pure academics. They're not leaders. They're people that were put in those positions because of the degrees that they've achieved, and then they were promoted and they were ultimately put in these positions. They're not really there to make decisions like this, and so they're going to lean on people that you would define as experts in the field, medical professionals, then ultimately the commissioner of the league that was hired to do this job. And so, when you rely heavily on something like that and they're going to steer you away from this, I think that there's something there that needs to be explained when there's a divergence, I guess, in your philosophies as a father and then your philosophies in your job.
First Take Your